welcome to Innovate for Climate, Facebook Live from Singapore. We're live streaming here from the Digital Media Zone. And Innovate for Climate is where global leaders come to talk about how can we accelerate climate finance. You can follow the conversation by using the hashtag Innovate for Climate. That's Innovate, the number 4, climate, all one word. I am Shar Friedman, Senior Strategy Officer for the International Finance Corporation, and I'm thrilled to be here with Vivek Pathak, who is our Regional Director for all of East Asia. Thank you. Welcome here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So we're going to talk a little bit about green bonds, which I know is something that IFC has been very involved in, and particularly in Asia. So can you talk about how green bonds, the idea of how green bonds really accelerate the movement toward a low carbon economy?
So that's really a $1 trillion question and not a $1 billion question,
Exactly.
because that's the opportunity we all believe. And the thinking is that how do you get manufacturing companies, services companies to start looking at how do you reduce carbon emissions? And a lot of it is pretty straightforward. You know, you replace, I mean, it sounds stupid, but you replace an old light bulb with a new energy efficient one. That is one small step towards reducing your carbon footprint. So that's at one end of the spectrum. The other end, I would say, is moving away from coal, doing more renewable energy, using more renewable energy, looking at opportunities like, if you look at one of the big challenges that we're facing right now, is rapid urbanization. Urbanization, in a way, one can say is good because it is typically the result of strong economic growth. But urbanization also means a lot of waste in cities. So how do? You can use waste to energy. We're actually doing that right now in Indonesia. We're trying to use the waste in Jakarta city and convert it to energy. Use of water, better use of water, water recycling, using mass transit, urban transportation. So all these are little things one can say, but ultimately it is actually a $1 trillion opportunity in Asia Pacific.
So how much so far has IFC already invested in green bonds across your region, across East Asia?
So we've invested almost about $1 billion as of now in the Asia Pacific region, which is in many ways a small number when I look at the $1 trillion opportunity. But from a base of zero in a region where green bond issuance other than China was not being done in a systematic manner, I think it's a reasonable start. And the first billion is always difficult because we actually had to work with regulators, with our clients, make them understand the dynamics of how it works, the mechanics, the cost-benefit analysis, so on and so forth. So a good start, but a lot more needs to be done.
Yeah, so you're jump-starting the whole market. That's not the end, and you're not going to go deal by deal.
Yes, so effectively we are, what I would say, trying to create a new asset class in emerging Asia. And like I said earlier, with the banks, we've actually worked with them and the regulators on how do we get the banks to start looking at this. We worked with regulators in a number of large cities on green building standards. You know, that's a huge opportunity. Green buildings, and logically green buildings can be financed with green bonds. So a lot of what I would call technical assistance work goes in before you can actually get the space to be up and running.
So what's the next step? I mean, you've taken it so far, you have your vision. Where are you going now? What's the next step in really moving this forward?
Well, in terms of numbers, I hope we can do another $2 billion in the next 12 months. It's a tall order, but I think it is doable because we are seeing a lot of corporates now willing to take that first step into green bonds. And the first step in the first corporate is always the difficult one.
Yeah.
After that, in many ways, is a herd mentality and people start coming in. We recently did an iconic green bond for the Ayala Group for their renewable energy business, which will be covering Philippines, Vietnam, and other markets, Indonesia. And that was a $300 million issuance, and we were an anchor investor in that with a $75 million tranche. So small steps, but really, so where do we see this going? Right now, I think green bonds are here and non-green bonds are here. I'm hoping it can be the other way around in 5 years.
Yeah. So you want to talk about, you launched this morning a new product. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So this morning we launched something called the Regio Fund with HSBC, and that will focus on green bonds globally, but focusing on what we would call the real sector, the real economy. So we've done something with Amundi last year, which was focusing on financial institutions. So financial institutions can stimulate the market, but ultimately, like I say, there has to be a consumer at the other end. So it's actually manufacturing companies, services companies, that should be issuing green bonds. So we are hoping with the Regio fund, we can kickstart that segment of the market as well.
So starting off as an issuer, moving into an investor in financial institutions, and now moving into an investor in the real sector.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking, and thank you for joining.
Thank you.